We need to focus more on teamwork, I repeated, my voice steady despite the frustration burning in my chest. My boss Tyler leaned back in his leather chair, that condescending smile still fixed on his face. Look, Victoria, you're talented at what you do. Nobody's questioning that. But Natalie? She understands how to collaborate with people. She brings positive energy to the team. Your analysis work is just too complex for practical use. Too complex for practical use. The words hit me like a slap as I sat there, my hands gripping the conference room chair. 3 years I'd poured 3 years into this company. 3 years of 6 a.m. starts, midnight oil, and weekends spent coding while my friends went out. I'd personally boosted our client retention rate by 35%, created predictive models that saved us thousands, and streamlined our data processes. And now I was being passed over for a promotion because my work was too complex. My name is Victoria Blake, and at 29, I learned that corporate success isn't always about what you can prove with numbers. Sometimes it's about who can smile the brightest and make small talk by the coffee machine. Natalie had that down to an art. She'd been here barely 2 years, but she'd already perfected the skill of presenting other people's insights as her own brilliant discoveries. I watched as Tyler flipped through my performance review, probably expecting me to argue or get emotional. But I didn't. Instead, I reached into my briefcase and pulled out a crisp white envelope that I'd prepared the night before. I understand your decision, I said, sliding the envelope across the polished table, and I appreciate the feedback. Here's my resignation letter. I'll finish out 2 weeks. Tyler's confident expression cracked. This obviously wasn't the reaction he'd planned for. Now, Victoria, let's not make any rushed decisions. Just because this particular promotion didn't work out. It's not rushed, I interrupted, keeping my voice professional but firm. I've thought this through carefully. You're right that my approach is complex. That's exactly why I need to find a place where analytical depth is actually valued. What Tyler didn't know, what nobody in this office knew, was that I hadn't just been crunching their quarterly reports for the past 3 years. During those late nights after supporting my mom and finishing my MBA coursework, I'd been developing something extraordinary. Something that would make Tyler's promotion decision look like the biggest mistake of his career. Walking out of that conference room, I could feel curious stares following me down the hallway. Word spreads fast in our department, and Natalie was probably already mentally rearranging my workspace. I held my head up as I headed back to my desk, thinking about the second document tucked inside that resignation letter. The one that would show Tyler exactly what kind of talent he was about to lose. The next 2 weeks unfolded exactly as I'd expected. Natalie strutted around the office like she owned the building, making a big show of learning the responsibilities of her new role. She'd drift by my cubicle now and then, her voice sticky with false concern. Victoria, I really hope you're not upset about this, she said one Tuesday morning, perching herself on my desk edge. I know you put in so much effort for this position. I glanced up from my screen, where I was carefully backing up all my analysis templates and client relationship notes. Not to take them with me, I had too much professional integrity for that, but to document exactly what I'd built for this company. Not upset at all, Natalie. You're going to do wonderfully. She beamed, probably thinking I was gracefully accepting defeat. She couldn't have been more wrong. The reality was, for the past 3 years, I'd been quietly building a revolutionary predictive analytics algorithm. It started as a way to track my own project outcomes, but it had grown into something compelling. I'd tested it, perfected it, and used it to generate those 2 complex results that had driven our department's success. And with my resignation letter, I'd included a comprehensive report showing exactly how much revenue and efficiency my algorithm had created for the company. The best part? I'd also included documentation that I'd filed for a patent on the algorithm 8 months ago. The approval had come through just last week. But even that wasn't the real surprise. 1 week into my notice period, an email appeared in my inbox from Harrison Wells, the CEO of the biggest analytics firm in our industry. He'd heard through professional networks that I was leaving and wanted to discuss opportunities over coffee. When I saw his name, I couldn't help but smile. Everything was lining up exactly as I'd hoped it would. The meeting with Harrison exceeded every expectation I'd had. He'd been tracking my work for months, fascinated by how I'd transformed our client prediction accuracy and revolutionized our data processes. He didn't just offer me a position, he proposed a strategic partnership, complete with full authority over my algorithm's implementation across their entire analytics division. "We've been searching for someone exactly like you, Victoria," he said, sliding a detailed contract across the mahogany table. "Someone who truly understands that data-driven results are everything. The compensation package is nearly triple your current salary, plus profit sharing and decision-making authority." I picked up the contract, my hands rock steady despite my heart hammering with excitement. This was what genuine recognition felt like. This was what it meant to be valued for your actual contributions. The day I turned in my security badge, Tyler summoned me to his office one final time. The cocky smile had vanished, replaced by something that looked suspiciously like panic. "Victoria, we need to discuss this report you attached to your resignation," he said, clutching the papers with trembling fingers. "Why didn't you ever mention this algorithm before?" I settled into the chair, smoothing my blazer as I sat. "I did try, Tyler. 3 separate times this past year, I requested meetings to present new analytical improvements. You told me we needed to prioritize team collaboration over complex data work." His face went ashen as he scanned through the pages. "But this is groundbreaking. The revenue impact alone, and you've actually patented this?" I nodded, savoring the way his voice had gone hoarse. "I have. And I've accepted a strategic partnership with Wells Analytics. They're incredibly eager to implement my algorithm across their entire client base." Tyler collapsed back in his chair, the full magnitude of his blunder finally sinking in. "Wells Analytics? Our biggest industry rival? Victoria, you can't do this. What about company loyalty?" "Loyalty?" I actually laughed out loud. "Like the loyalty you demonstrated when you promoted Natalie? Like the loyalty you showed when you dismissed every analytical breakthrough I presented because it wasn't collaborative enough?" I stood up, adjusting my jacket with deliberate calm. "Here's what's really ironic, Tyler. If you'd looked beyond your outdated biases and examined the results I was producing instead of worrying about who made the best small talk in meetings, none of this would be happening. But you chose not to. And now Wells Analytics is going to have a competitive advantage you can't possibly match. We'll beat whatever offer they made," he said frantically, desperation flooding his voice. "We'll create a senior analyst position just for you. Please don't go to Wells." I shook my head, almost feeling sorry for him. "This isn't about compensation or job titles, Tyler. It's about respect. It's about recognizing real value. And you've made your position on that crystal clear." As I walked out of his office for the last time, I could hear him frantically speed dialing, probably alerting the executive team to start damage control. But it was far too late. The patent belonged to me, the partnership was signed, and Natalie was about to discover that borrowing other people's insights only works until you have to generate actual results yourself. That evening, while clearing out my desk, I discovered a sticky note on my monitor. It was from Natalie, written in her characteristic loopy handwriting. "So sad to see you leave. Let's stay connected." I smiled as I crumpled it up and dropped it in the wastebasket. Oh, she'd definitely be hearing about me. The entire industry would be. Walking into Wells Analytics on my first day felt like entering a completely different universe. Instead of a cramped cubicle, I had a spacious corner office with panoramic windows. My name was engraved on an elegant glass nameplate, Victoria Blake, Director of Predictive Analytics and Strategic Innovation. But the real transformation wasn't in the office space or the impressive title. It was in how people actually treated me. Harrison Wells, the CEO, had organized a company-wide meeting to introduce me. Standing before the packed auditorium, he didn't simply announce my arrival, he detailed my achievements, explained the revolutionary potential of my predictive algorithm, and made it absolutely clear that I would have complete authority to implement changes throughout the organization. Victoria isn't just joining our team, he announced, his voice resonating across the room. She's bringing a transformative approach to predictive analytics that will revolutionize how we serve our clients. I expect everyone to provide her with full support and cooperation. The difference from my previous company couldn't have been more dramatic. There, I'd been the invisible workhorse, the one who delivered results but never received acknowledgement. Here, I was being celebrated for precisely what Tyler had dismissed, my commitment to analytical excellence. But the real vindication came 3 months later. I was leading a strategy session when my phone lit up with a text from my old colleague Christopher. "You need to see the trade publications," it read. Major story just broke about Dataflow Solutions. Dataflow Solutions, my former company. I excused myself from the meeting and rushed back to my office, pulling up the industry news site on my laptop. The headline made my stomach flip. Dataflow Solutions reports 15% revenue drop as major clients jump ship. The article laid out how Dataflow had lost 3 key accounts in the past quarter, with several more threatening to terminate their contracts. Client retention rates had crashed, prediction accuracy had plummeted, and their analytics department was in complete chaos. The company's reputation was tanking fast. As I read through the details, one quote jumped out at me. It was from Michael Crawford, a major client we'd worked with for years. "The analytical quality at Dataflow has gone downhill dramatically in recent months. Predictions that used to be spot on are now consistently wrong. It's like they lost their entire analytical backbone overnight." I couldn't suppress a grin. Those accurate predictions? They'd all been generated using my algorithm. The analytical backbone they'd lost? That was the predictive framework I'd spent 3 years perfecting. The one Tyler had dismissed as too complex. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Christopher: "Natalie is completely falling apart. She can't handle the real analytical work, and Tyler is finally seeing she has no clue what she's doing." I put my phone aside, marveling at the perfect irony. Natalie, who'd spent 2 years presenting other people's insights as her own, was finally being forced to generate actual analytical results. And Tyler, who'd chosen presentation skills over analytical depth, was watching his department collapse. But I had far more important things to concentrate on. At Wells Analytics, my algorithm was producing incredible results. Client prediction accuracy had improved by 60%, customer satisfaction scores were breaking company records, and our analytical capabilities were becoming legendary in the industry. Harrison had already greenlit my proposal to expand the algorithm company-wide, and we were in serious discussions with major corporations wanting to license the technology. One morning, about 6 months after leaving Dataflow, I arrived at my office to find Harrison waiting for me, holding a business journal. "Have you seen this?" he asked, showing me the cover. The headline read, "Dataflow Solutions Leadership Shakeup as Company Struggles to Recover." I nodded, taking the journal from him. "I caught the announcement yesterday. Industry sources say they're doing a complete organizational overhaul," Harrison said, studying my expression. "The board finally admitted they completely mishandled their talent management. Apparently, they've been trying to reverse engineer your algorithm, but without the core methodology. It's impossible," I completed his thought. "The algorithm isn't just code or formulas. It's about understanding how data patterns interconnect across multiple variables." Harrison's smile was the kind that showed he understood exactly what kind of asset he had. "Which is why we're announcing your promotion to Senior Vice President next week." The board was unanimous. "They've witnessed what you've accomplished here in just 6 months, and they want to expand your influence." I felt a surge of genuine satisfaction spread through me. This was what real recognition felt like. This was what it meant to be valued for your actual expertise, not your ability to navigate office politics. Later that afternoon, an unexpected email appeared in my inbox. It was from Tyler. "Victoria, I hope you're doing well. I'm certain you've heard about the changes happening at Dataflow. I wanted to reach out and admit that I made a catastrophic error in not recognizing your contributions to the company. The algorithm you developed was the foundation of our analytical success, and we didn't understand its value until it was gone. I'm no longer with Dataflow. The board requested my resignation last week. Before leaving, I made sure they understood that this crisis could have been prevented if we'd listened to your proposals. Natalie resigned a month ago. It turns out that generating actual analytical insights is much more challenging than repurposing other people's work. I know it's too late to change things, but I wanted you to know that you were absolutely right. Analytical depth does matter. I just wish I'd understood that sooner. Best regards, Tyler. I read the email carefully, absorbing every word. There was a time when this kind of admission would have meant the world to me. Now, sitting in my executive office at Wells Analytics, preparing for another board presentation where my insights would be valued and implemented, it felt like a distant echo from a life I'd already moved beyond. I clicked reply and wrote a brief response. Tyler, thank you for your message. You're absolutely right, analytical rigor does matter. I wish you success in your future endeavors. Best, Victoria. After hitting send, I looked up at the framed patent certificate on my wall, the one for my predictive algorithm. Next to it hung a gleaming plaque celebrating our record-breaking quarter. And besides that, a magazine feature highlighted me as one of the industry's most innovative minds. I thought about how far I'd traveled from that day in Tyler's conference room when he'd told me my work was too complex for practical use. That criticism had actually been the greatest gift he could have given me, because here, in my new position with my new team, that complexity was revolutionizing the entire industry. The next morning, I gathered my team for our weekly strategy session. As I looked around the conference room at the focused faces, people who genuinely respected my expertise, who valued my analytical insights, who were eager to learn from my methods, I felt a profound sense of belonging. Today, I began, we're going to discuss our next major client implementation. But first, I want to share something important about the value of recognizing talent, not just in algorithms or data models, but in the people who create them. And as I spoke, I could see comprehension lighting up their expressions. They understood completely. They grasped that real success isn't about mastering office politics or being the most sociable team member. It's about generating genuine value and having the strength to defend your principles. Sometimes, I reflected, the most powerful response to rejection isn't seeking revenge. It's about pushing forward, about creating something far superior to what you left behind. Tyler, Natalie, and Dataflow Solutions had taught me this crucial lesson, even though they'd never intended to. Driving home that evening, I passed by the Dataflow Solutions building. The corporate logo that once seemed so impressive now appeared worn and outdated. A commercial space available sign was posted in one of the ground floor windows. They were clearly downsizing, another victim of their misguided management choices. But I didn't feel any satisfaction at their struggles. Instead, I felt genuinely thankful. Thankfully that they had misjudged my abilities. Thankfully that they had essentially forced me to leave. Thankfully that they had pushed me to demonstrate my value, not just to them, but to myself. Because sometimes life's greatest opportunities arrive wrapped in rejection. Sometimes being overly focused on analytical precision is exactly the strength you need. And sometimes the most effective response to being undervalued is simply showing the world what they lost. My phone chimed with a message from Christopher. Dataflow's board is reaching out about you. They want to know if you'd consider returning as Chief Analytics Officer. I smiled as I typed my reply. I appreciate the inquiry, but I'm exactly where I belong. And I truly was. Because genuine success isn't about proving your critics wrong, it's about proving yourself right. It's about maintaining your standards even when others question them. It's about understanding your worth and refusing to compromise on it. As I turned into my driveway, I thought about all the other Victorias out there, brilliant professionals being overlooked because they prioritize analytical rigor over social charm. Maybe my experience would encourage them to hold their ground, to trust in their abilities, to forge their own paths forward. After all, sometimes the most effective way to handle professional rejection is to transform it into motivation, to use it as fuel for building something superior, something more innovative, something that makes them realize exactly what they lost. And as I settled into my home office to review the latest proposals for expanding our algorithm internationally, I couldn't help but smile. Because ultimately, Tyler had been correct about one thing: I was overly focused on results. And that relentless focus had brought me precisely where I was meant to be.